Hi, you're here because you Googled Alphayue strings, and today I'm changing the strings on my daughter's cello. It's a 1/4 sized. It's actually a little bit small for a 1/4 sized and a little large for an 1/8 size, so I got the 1/4 sized strings, and maybe there's a reason which would justify this purchase, but actually, to be honest, they were the only ones in stock, so I went for the 1/4 sized. So this is what they look like. Comes in a box like this. And Alphayue is made by an Austrian company, Thomastik-Infeld. They're the guys who make dominants. I think that if it was possible to be bullied in orchestra as a teen, it was probably because you had dominant strings. And I think it's unfair because their quality level is quite high. I never really understood why they got such a bad rap. I have the feeling that people are just snobs about their strings, and when you're paying upwards of $100 for a set, maybe people are willing to spend another 50 euros. But Alphayue just put everything on its head. This whole set cost me 60 euros, but I think it's significantly cheaper in the States. This is the cello. I think I should play it once. I think I'm going to change the strings string by string. I'll start with the A string. And I guess I was told by my teacher, actually, by my daughter's teacher, that the strings needed to be changed. I actually don't think I'd change them because they don't look like they're in danger of being broken. They look fine to me. Maybe you can't see with my webcam, but they don't sound fine, but that's probably the quality of the cello more than anything else. But let's see. I'll play something on the A string. What should I play? Play like a long note, just open string. It doesn't sound good, but it sounds like a student cello. To be honest, we're not. I don't hear any big wobbliness or squeaks more than, things which couldn't be helped with a little bit of technique. But to be honest, this cello, the strings haven't been changed in maybe 3 or 4 years. They don't look very old. No signs of rust or wear. Like sometimes if you look at a old school cello, the winding will be coming off. But anyways, her teacher told her the string had to come off, so now I'll just start doing that. I'm doing it the way I learned how to do it. I know that there's different ways, but the way I learned how to do it is string by string, top to bottom. You're not supposed to change them all on the same day, but her lesson is tomorrow, so whatever. The idea is that you should never change the tension too dramatically. So if you take all the strings out, then the tension will drop. Is this really an A? It don't look like an A to me. Okay, here's the new string. Comparison, here's the old. This is significantly thicker. So thick that I don't think that is the right string. Well, in my country they always say measure twice, cut once. I think I'm going to measure 3 times and take a look at another package. Sometimes people change their mind, I guess. I'm just looking at the D and making sure that the thickness is smaller. And yes, it is. Is it? That's so weird. Whatever. So I was looking up also reviews for these Alphayue strings. before I bought them, but there was really no question I was going to buy them because I just love the concept. The idea, okay, this is way too long. I should have probably waited for the 8th. But that's okay, I think. I think I'll just wind them in. Maybe I'll cut the top. I'll see if it works. If it doesn't work, I'll cut the top. Okay, I'm doing a little bit of a 4 wind because this is huge. But you got to be careful. If the string height in the box is high enough, then you can wind over a couple times and not bother anything. But otherwise you can get this situation where the string is so thick in the box that it bothers the other strings. Actually, there's this situation in this cello. Now I see. Oh well. So what you do is you wind until it's just strong enough to stay on the bridge hole. And then you got to slow down kind of. Don't go too crazy. Oh my goodness, this is such a thick string. It doesn't look right at all. Oh my goodness, I hope this has some breaking in power because right now I am not happy at all. Well, this is the interesting part for me will be when I go back and listen to the first sound because that does not sound good to me at all. It sounds kind of chalky and weird, but you know what? I also just put it on. To me, it sounds very quiet, chalky, and weird. I feel like it's just too thick. Yeah, the previous string sounds much better. Well, we'll give it a chance to settle in, I guess. What could possibly be? It is very thick, and maybe it's made for a bigger cello. So, but like I said, this one is a full 2 inches longer than it says on their website. They wanted vibrating string length. I think it was 48 centimeters. 48. Yeah, I think it was 48 centimeters. And I measured this. Was a bit smaller, but not much. It was definitely bigger than what they were advertising for the 8th. The vibrating string length, of course, being from the nut to the tailpiece. But don't listen to me because I obviously bought the wrong strings. We'll see. Well, I'm gonna power ahead. I don't know why. I'm very disappointed at the first glance. I just took off the D string. Okay. I'll show you the D string they have here. It's huge. Yeah, these are the same length, these 2 strings, the old one and the new one. I think the old one, I don't know what they are. But look how huge it is. The length of the strings is the same. Well, if I wind out all this winding stuff. But even the winding over here starts even a little bit earlier. Right, if you know what I mean, the skunky stuff that they put for the peg box. Yeah, they're exactly the same length, pretty much. Let me just make sure that I didn't... No, this old one is even a tiny bit longer. So I don't think that can be the problem. But look at the difference in thickness. The Alphayue strings are super fat. Look at this ball too. The Alphayue string, it's like got this giant ball compared to the previous string, whatever that is. Yeah, I think this won't even fit inside. Huh. How come the other one fit inside but this one doesn't, huh? Good question. Hey, with me what you see is what you get. None of those post-editing tricks. Do I need to take this ball off? It's definitely not sitting exactly where it should this time. Maybe when I put some tension on it, it will be better. But I need to add some lubrication to this peg. Don't have a pencil here. One moment. Adding some graphite to the peg. Yeah, one of my first major purchases by myself with my own money was a set of strings. I got a set of Eva Perazzi strings, and I was not disappointed. I thought they were the best thing ever, you know. They made my cello sound so warm. The funny thing about them is none of my friends agreed with me. They were like, "Oh, your cello sounds dull and quiet. What happened to your cello?" And I'm like, I restrang it. Now it sounds brilliant and bright. That shows you beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Also, it's true that what you hear is different from what other people hear. Not a lot, but enough. This must be the most boring video on YouTube, but every once in a while I fall down a little rabbit hole, and I'm like, I'd really want to know what people think about this thing, and I find like a million videos which are clearly sponsored, but it doesn't say sponsored. You know, people will be playing badly once, and then well the next time. I'm like, wait a second. If you look in this box, you'll see that this winding on the next peg is too big. Maybe you can't see that. And so when I put the string on this top peg, it's being bothered by it. Maybe I'll just take this one off for the time being. Okay, so I very gently wound this down and up, and already I see fuzz coming off of this string. So I would say this is not normal dominant quality. Look at that. I had to take it off because the end is just too long. It won't fit in the box otherwise. The fact that it's too long is not actually a problem. First of all, like I said, this cello is a bit on the small side for what they're advertising. And also on fractional sized instruments, they're always going to give you a little bit of extra room. They don't want you to send it back because it doesn't fit, like because it's too small. This, however, is a very fat string. Maybe it will be really easy for her to play on, though. You know what? I'll have to do a follow-up video. But I'm surely keeping the old strings just in case I need to put them back on. I'm afraid it might be necessary. I'm so disappointed. I thought that this would be a easy fix. I think I am going to cut off maybe just like 3 or 4 inches, they say. Guess I'm not returning these. Maybe I can finally figure out what's inside a string. Definitely a wire core. Now I love looking behind marketing and trying to figure out what the real story is. One of those things that people will tell you is that strings need to be replaced, you know, every X number of hours or days or months, or I think it's not like a car. It's not like tires. The question really is what wears out. Because when you know what wears out, then you can really tell, like, the logical reason why something should be replaced. So for instance, with tires, it's the tread. You can look at a tire and you can say, this will need to be replaced. And they could just say, replace it when you've gotten to this level of tread. Okay, now I have the A and the D on. Surely not in tune, but more or less. Detuning already, but nothing terrible. They do feel very thick. They feel thicker than the strings on my normal cello. I'm lukewarm about it. If you look, for instance, the new D string, this is the new D string, the second string over here, is just as thick as the G string, which is not normal. I just realized I forgot to play the D string before restringing it, but I won't make that mistake now. I'll retune the G string. So the bottom two strings now are the old strings, which again I said they didn't seem so old to me, but the cello teacher said replace them. I don't understand really why. So I hear like overtony sounds, but and you know I always make this this joke, you know. Let me put this down right. You don't have to change your fingers, you can do the. That's because the tension is low. That problem I think won't be solved with strings because okay, well, let's go for the G. I still feel the A is extremely chalky and very, very thick. And I don't know. Let me see. On the Alphayue box, it says it's more of a warm sound or a brilliant sound. No, it's more of a brilliant sound with a broad focus. And it does say on it that it's not very playable. At least that's what I think it means. This is giving me flashbacks to biochemistry. And it says immediate attack, which is true. So if I play on the old strings, this is one of those problems. You have to be pretty firm about the beginning of the playing. So I have my doubts if my child would be able to learn that stroke so quickly. And with the new strings, you can be pretty lazy about starting it. The tone comes pretty fast. But I wouldn't say they're playable because they sound chalky. Of course, I told you the issue. If you put the right size strings on, maybe you'll have a different. I'd be interested if somebody else puts the right size strings on, how they like it. Because I, for sure, don't know one way or another. Okay, I'm replacing the G now. We already played it a couple times. You heard it. This is the old G. Again, no rust, no weird bending. Sometimes if a string is really old, like I said, you can see the winding coming off, especially where it touches the bridge. This doesn't have that. If it was up to me, I wouldn't be changing these strings, but we are not the bosses anymore. Once our kids go to school, nobody's asking my opinion anymore. Oh, again, this is a very thick string. Very, very fat. I really hope that these strings work out. Sometimes it takes a while for things to break in, because I really love the concept of a budget string. I think people have been, the trend recently has been people buy cheaper and cheaper instruments and they put more and more expensive strings on them. And I think that it should be exactly the opposite. If you have a really nice instrument, it really shouldn't matter what you put on it, it'll sound good. The quality of modern strings should be superbly fantastic and very cheap compared to the catgut of old. That being said, economics never works exactly the way I think it should. Okay, this one I'm for sure trimming because this is just too much. I'm going to again cut this much off of it. Don't cut your strings unless you really know what you're doing. This is a very bad. This set was 15 euros a string. That's very expensive mistake to cut. if you don't have to. What if you want to use them for a different instrument and it doesn't fit because you cut some off? Don't cut it. Unless you know for sure. So yeah, if I could buy strings for my full-size cello at this price, $60, and know that they were fine, I'd be super psyched. The price of strings has been going up ridiculously fast. And a lot of people think they can get away with buying a very, very cheap instrument and putting a fancy tailpiece or super expensive strings on it. And I think that's just the wrong approach, because the sound of the instrument comes from the wood. The string is also an extremely important part of the sound, and everything else just has to do with projection. The strings will help you with the ease of playing, and of course with the tone. So the cello itself is basically one giant amplifier. I overtuned it. So you should be able to really good strings on a bad cello, it'll still be wolfy and horrible, but the original sound will be okay. And if you're, I don't know why you would do that. It seems like a terrible idea. If you put really great strings on an okay cello, it'll sound great. It'll sound fine. Well, if you're the type of cellist who would say that it couldn't possibly sound fine, then you work at the Boston Philharmonic or wherever and you're not watching this video. But if you put bad strings on a superb cello, it'll still sound great. You can just like sing at it, and it's just this level of fineness which you can't get from strings alone. And that's why sometimes you see these super professionals with some really cheap strings, like synthetic core, which I love. I love synthetic core. Low tension strings, synthetic core. That's the place to be, for me. It's because these steel core strings, the Larsons or the Magna cores, or whatever they're doing these days, have too high tension for an old instrument. And it actually doesn't matter what they string on; it will sound great. I love Spyrocore. I have nothing against them. Eva Pirazzi, I love it. But I feel like all of the people I work with don't like them, so it depends. Right now I have 2 Eva Pirazzis on the top of strings and Spyrocores on the bottom, and I'm very happy with that. Okay, now I'll play something on the C string, on that little monster. Okay, well, this is the fourth and last string. After this is done, I'm going to go and cry to myself because I had such high hopes for this set of strings. Such high hopes. I feel like every year people come up with a new gimmicky string, and it makes me so angry because I feel like at some point I should be able to get strings at the hardware store. If it's really steel wire with some magnesium alloy inside and a wrapping on the outside. What's different from this? And another wire. Why? Why is it so expensive? And I was just hoping that this would be the game changer. That Dominant, the company which I've always been defending its entire existence, should come up with a string which is both good and affordable. Not cheap. This is very expensive compared to the you know, the wire strings you find on AliExpress or something like that. But this is not cheap, and I was hoping it would be good. You know what? I'll come back when they're a little bit more settled in and show you what they end up playing like. Maybe at the end of this video, that would be the most practical. That way you don't have to bother subscribing or anything stupid like that. Once again, I'm not a real YouTuber. I just sometimes I put a video up if I find myself looking a lot for something that doesn't exist. And this is one of those times. Alphayue on a fractional cello. Expecting this video to get 1,000 views, then I get a little adrenaline surge. Oh, that was not a good sound. Let me just make sure that nothing bad happened. This bridge is a little warped. But I've never seen a student cello without a warped bridge. Student cellos really are one of those things. tune down the tuner. It's more stable. Before I could go up half a tone just by pressing on the bow a little more. Now it's a little less, like 2 cents, I think. Okay, well, I hope that was not too rough.